Hello there and welcome to 10 tips and tricks for beginners in Factorio. In this video I have packed up my knowledge and experience with this game to summarize the things that I personally think should help every beginner and maybe also experienced player out in enjoying this game, make it accessible without spoilering too much. I really go here over some technical things, some strategical things. I really hope that this video will help you out at the end. Let me know in the comments. So, number one that I want to talk about first, really pick your own pace with this game. There's a ton of tutorials out there and a ton of different opinions of how this game is meant to be played, but I know one thing for sure. First off, the game can feel quite overwhelming and therefore take it as slow as you need. And the other thing is, whatever you build in this game, you just hold down the right mouse button and you pick it right back up. There's nothing you could risk doing wrong here, ever. The worst spaghetti convolution of conveyor belts that you could imagine, it's no problem. You can clean it up, just build some containers, clean up the mess, get your gun and hold down shift and left space, because that's what you nowadays need to shoot containers, and then destroy your mess and start again. It's really not a big deal, so there's nothing you can lose. That's the very first thing that I want to point out, because there's really so many opinions out there about this game, and I warmly recommend other content creators, but I personally felt overwhelmed by their opinions as well at first. So number two, I want to talk about automate everything. Seriously, everything that you could imagine you could get done with assemblers, smelters, labs, and miners, and conveyor belts. Try it if you can't get it done. If it works, think about how to make it more practical. If it is already relatively practical, think about how you can make it a large style if it makes you happy. Whatever you do, try to rely on the handcrafting back here as little as possible in this game. My personal rule of thumb is it's totally okay to handcraft things that I need like 10 or 20 times in 2 hours, but once I exceed that limit, I should really think about building some machines that do the building for me, because it really frees up your headspace, and it's also quite enjoyable to build these things. So seriously, whatever you want to automate, you can automate, and you should even automate it if it is requested often enough. Number three, whenever you build something, leave some little spaces in between, be it in the small or in the large. As you see here, I have some extra leeway here, some extra leeway here. It can be as much as 1 or 2 grids. It really doesn't matter that much. Why? Because it leaves you open to weave stuff in between, and it might make your general footprint of your factory larger, but I know one thing for sure. When you're just starting out with the game, basically everybody, me myself included, tends to cram things too close together when you're just starting out, because it's fun to make things compact and fitting and all. But leaving some room in between your machineries, as you see there's always some small gaps in between, helps you later down the road to just move your own character in between the machines. That's one thing. And the other thing is that you always can weave some materials in between your base, and that really helps to, one, make it look like a real Factorio base, and the other thing, it really helps you out to fix out little whoopsies, because it's really darned hard to build perfect machineries. Like here, this is far from being perfect, but it's at least organized in a way that I can weave something in between if the need arises to. Number four, avoid to overscale, and always keep an eye out on your goals. What I mean with that is, for example, let's go on the map. Here, these are maxed out smelter stacks. This is exactly producing as many iron plates as you can possibly carry with 1 yellow belt per second. I could now produce more iron plates, build a second stack of these, a third, a fourth, but would I need these? With iron, the answer is clearly and easily yes, but not with all things. If I would be starting now to mass produce, I don't know, red science packs, or, you know, if you're new to the game, you don't really have that kind of overview what you really need. Therefore, look at what your goals are, what you need to fulfill. Look at the numbers on your science packs. Like, for example, you can clearly see how many science packs you roughly need. That gives you an idea about how much science you need to produce, which gives you then an idea how many of these machines you need, and so on and so forth. Keep an eye out on your goals. It's pretty human to tend to overscale, and honestly, there's no kill like an overkill, and it's fun to overscale, but it's easy to get lost in it, and it's also easy to burn yourself out on these projects. Because honestly, it's all fun and games until you realize that everything you build here, if you're new to it, can be suddenly built by robots, and you realize that you spent 6 hours meticulously hand building something that these robots can build in 10 minutes for you. So that's what I'm getting down to. So don't overscale too much, keep progressing in your own pace, and you're golden. Number 5, I want to talk about Bidus. So Bidus are the natural inhabitants of this planet, and here they are behaving very tame. That is because I made them passive by when going into peaceful mode. For beginners, I warmly recommend that because the tower defense aspect of the game is another layer of the game, which is fun and all, but if you are new to Factorio, it even increases further on the overwhelmingness factor. So when you're generating a world, you can easily deactivate them or make them passive, or if you like to play with them still because you love stuff like that and you don't want to opt on out on that because that's what you bought the game for. So one tip for me, try to pick a starting location that has as many trees as possible. My starting location is pretty hardcore. It does not have any trees. The biters get triggered once your pollution touches them. Once they are inside pollution, without pacify mode, they will send scouts to destroy the sources of pollution. That means trees are your friends because they eat pollution for you. So don't kill them all, and try to have a starting point with a lot of trees to make it easier for you, or just go all in and see how you crash and burn. I'm personally the latter kind of type because I like it like that. Now, number 6, I want to talk about another thing: segment and organize your base into zones. So here I started out. Here I went just cluttery-do without planning anything because I knew that I would upscale eventually. So this is a typical improvised building like I want to base. Whereas over here, you see, there's already map tags. You can easily make these yourself by adding a tag, naming it, and then you can plot it down. And assigning certain areas: science, basic smelting, malls. This is where I pick up my stuff to expand. It's a common word. You will encounter it in all manner of different tutorials, except for Nilaus. I think he hates that term, but whatever. Organizing yourself like that helps you to move stuff from one way to another and think about how stuff should move. And this makes everything more logical. And without organization, your whole base will look like this. This is in small scales, not a problem at all. It's honestly some sure hot fun to play like that, but when you go bigger, you will ultimately have more and more problems organizing yourself. Your spaghetti rate will increase, and it will become harder and harder to understand what you built there, and also expanding on it. So this is helpful, and as you see there, I might have lots of blank spaces in between, but I have already foundations below the stuff that I want to keep, and the rest is just changeable parts. So it's just an idea how you could do it. It's by no means a fixed solution because it's a sandbox game. You play it how you want to. As number 7 comes on in, I want to talk about logistics. In this game, you're moving stuff from one place to another. A lot. So while it is totally okay to build huge builds like I have here to transport ores directly into the smelting stacks, eventually you will fail with this method. So your goals should be as follows. First up, have a ways and means to transport the stuff that you smelt and otherwise procure and refine to your main factory. This is commonly referred to as main bus. So as you see here, I have 4 things together, and then I have a blank gap between, and I will rack up 4 here again together. And by leading down your goods this like this, you create a scenario where it is very easy to use splitters and other things to get the stuff where you want it to. This has limits. You shouldn't make these lines too long, because as you make them too long, you will need extra tools that I won't be explaining in a beginner's tutorial video. It's more like an advanced thing, but the thing you would be looking for are belt balances. So just if you are looking for it online. And as you see it here, organizing your strands of materials like this makes it so much easier to understand what's running where. And in terms of my science factory here, for example, you can clearly understand what you picked up from where. And just mind you, whenever you pick up from somewhere, it's a situation like this, splitter, and then going like this, and then wiring it down the hill again. It dilutes the total amount of goods on the belt, and eventually the last machines on the bus always get the least. That's basically what that boils down to. But I could make an entire video about this topic alone, 30 to 60 minutes easy. So let's move on to another part of logistics, and that is long-range logistics. As you see here, I have a copper patch which is way too far away to connect it with conveyor belts, and a very simple train connection like this. And it's really not more like a train stop and a simple cargo wagon, and on the other end, the same thing will ease up your pain a lot. Don't shy away from making super simple connections via train like this. You don't need to understand much about trains to make these happen, and by just experimenting around with the tools, it's easy to find these out, or you check out a train tutorial if you want to find out more. But what I want to get down to as a rule of thumb, long range distances, don't bother with conveyor belts. They are way too resource intense and fiddly and susceptible to all kinds of nasty things that will make your factory work like crap. And trains are where you will get to. And organize your stuff like in a way that your trains also have room to unload. The place where your trains unload will be your source of materials for the future. So I'm going too deep into logistics. That's because I love logistics. But number 8, I want to show you a couple of easy tricks for belts, that 2 tricks that will pretty much solve most of your problems. Not all, but many of them. So scenario 1, you want to separate something on a belt. So we want to have the green signs and the red signs separate from one another. That's where you use the splitter. You place it down, then you go for the filter, and then you select what you want to filter. And then you see it here already on the preview. And now we can easily just go like that. And what comes out of this is a clearly separated little thing. You probably already knew that. Maybe you were looking for it like crazy. I don't know. But this is one of the things that really never grows old and is an easy way of separating builds without too much hassle. But sometimes you also want to combine things that aren't combined yet. So, for example, we could want to combine our... Let's see. Or do we have lots of here in the vicinity? Yeah, let's go for the hand grenades and the iron. As you see there, these are clearly not compatible to one another. And let's say we want both of these goods on this piece of build. Won't work until we make it like this. You set up the main path where you want the stuff at, and then you go from this side, and then you go from that side, and all of a sudden you create this crazy looking thing. And when you now connect these like that, you can combine whatever you want. This little intersection trick is a thing that I use so much in all of my factories. I think everybody should know it. Now, there's plenty of other little build tricks that you can do. Lots of it. I don't want to go too deep into this, as I feel like these 2 things should sort you out in most of your issues. I hope so, at least. So, number 9, I want to talk about ratios. What do I mean with ratios? Is that you want to have 100% efficiency on these things. That means a transport belt of this color can carry 15 items per second, so we want to make sure that we produce exactly 15 items per second. This is what we call a ratio. You will find these everywhere in the game. So for example, 48 stone furnaces create exactly 15 plates of iron or copper. How do you know that? By calculating that. I personally would recommend to you 2 things. First up, either you grab your calculator, your piece of paper, your Excel spreadsheet, or whatever you prefer, and calculate it yourself and enjoy yourself. or you go for either mods or Factorio cheat sheet. I have put the link to this wonderful little site into the description below. The cheat sheet gives you just a couple of useful informations like the ratio of many things. How many assemblers do you need for green circuits, and so on and so forth. It depends on you. I personally prefer mods, currently not running any mods because Space Age is just out and I want a couple of vanilla achievements. But Factorio cheat sheet can also sort you out if you don't want to run any mods. Either way, you should be always going for trying to achieve these ratios, but don't hound yourself too hard with it. There's a fascinating little caveat as well. If you only know how many machines you need to fulfill the cap, you can do it then without any calculating. As long as you know, for example, that 48 furnaces fill the belt, yeah, it doesn't matter if you calculate it out, if you have enough mining machines or not enough mining machines. You just add no more furnaces and mining machines until the belt is full again. I would recommend you, though, to calculate, because calculating is fun and good for your brain, but, you know, you can also brute force things. You just need to know the upper limit, and then you will see if you need more of any machine. The bottom line of it is, don't hound yourself too much with ratios. You can easily download them, you can calculate them, but you can also just try out how it works for yourself. And at the end of the day, you can make a factory that's very inefficient, but you still win the game with it. That's the fun part about it. And number 10, the last thing that I want to talk about is power production priority. What do I mean with that? Well, this little thing here is producing all the power in my factory. If this little thing here goes out, I lose all my power of my factory. That is a bad thing, because without power, my factory doesn't generate coal. My factory can't generate power without coal, and this is where you can gridlock yourself. So, in a nutshell, that means whatever power source your factory uses, and especially in the early game we all use coal, try to make the coal for your power plant exclusive. Don't mix it with other sources, don't mix it with your smelting, and don't mix it with your grenade crafting or whatever. Just have it exclusive. Here, I've reserved this entire patch just for power production's sake. Or you can just burn solid fuel out of oil. Whatever you do, the bottom line stands. Your power production is the most crucial part of your factory, and in many scenarios, it can take a while until you kickstart back your factory out of a outage like that. There is a little trick, though, that you can follow that is super easy to pull off. Just have a chest of fuel of your own liking in the vicinity of your power plant as a backup plan. If you have a chest full of coal, you just smack it into the boilers, and power goes back up, and you can fix in that time window whatever needs fixing, or you fix it and then you power it up back up. A chest full of fuel is very, very useful for situations like that. In all honesty, it's no shame to have a power outage in your factory. I think everybody playing this game long enough has experienced it once or twice. So, that's the 10 things that I wanted to tell you. I hope they helped you out. I wanted to keep it as spoiler-free as possible because I really think how you approach this game matters a lot. And let me know in the comments what you would want to know about more, or if you have anything you would want to tell any beginners about. Feel free to. So, leave a like, leave a subscribe, check out the description box filled with other links and stuff of mine. Feel free to support the channel financially if you feel like my work is worth a dime to you. It would mean the world to me. Many thanks to all of you who already did support Icon Gaming and do support Icon Gaming. And of course, thanks for watching. That's the most important thing of all. So, the factory must grow, friends. And with these words, I hope you have a fine day. Bye-bye.